In 2022, we celebrate 130 years of HBCU football. On December 27th, 1892, Livingstone and Biddle College, now known as Johnson C. Smith University, played in Salisbury, North Carolina, with Biddle winning 5-0. Over time, HBCU football has evolved. HBCU football's popularity continues to rise. Millions attend games each year and millions more watch on television. The HBCU bands provide some of the top entertainment in the country. Over that time, some of the best players to ever play in the National Football League played at HBCUs. Every Monday through Friday on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, national radio and television host Donald Ware takes a look at what's happening in HBCU football and talks with coaches, players, administrators, and media about the 2022 season. Make sure you join the conversation on social media by using the hashtag HBCU130. Now, here's your host, Donald Ware.
Thursday is the 18th. Okay, here we go. It's the HBCU Football Daily Podcast for today, Thursday, August the 18th. I'm Donald Ware. Look, we're 9 days away from the start of the HBCU football season. And as we've been talking about, it promises to be a great season. On the line, as a matter of fact, we're joined by the fifth-year head football coach at Virginia Union, Dr. Alvin Parker. You gotta do that correctly. Dr. Alvin Parker joins us on the program. The Panthers on last year, 6-4 and 5-2 in CIAA plays. Had a lot of success since becoming the head coach there at Virginia Union, as he joins us here on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. Dr. and Coach Parker, what's going on?
Man, I'm happy to be here, man. I think, practicing and everything kind of signifies football season, but, whenever I get a chance to talk to you, that let me know how close it is.
No doubt. We've been doing this ever since you got the job. So, man, you know what? All the years, right? We've been talking for a couple of years now. I did not know. It took me to read your bio to know that you were from not only Washington, D.C., but Southeast Washington, D.C., right? What high school did you go to?
I went to Ballou High School, right in the heart of Southeast, Southeast through and through, man.
Yeah. What is some of your fondest memories of growing up in Southeast?
Oh, man. I think, I played Little League football at a place called the number 11 Boys Club over there on MLK Avenue.
Yes. I know.
And we had some great coaches, and it was a great experience. And I think that kind of led me to where I am today in terms of just making sure that, football was just that important to me. So it was a major thing, So kind of grew up, those guys poured into me. I say right over there on Martin Luther King Avenue in Southeast DC, so
yes,
that right there was probably one of my fondest memories of coming early growing up.
I know number 11, having worked at the Library of Congress, we had a basketball league. We used to play our games there at number 11.
Funny small world.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So camp to this point, just tell us how it's going to this point.
I think, at this point we're healthy. We got a good team of guys coming back. I think, so a lot of guys that are going through with us right now went through the spring with us, so it's kind of a continuation of kind of the things we put in from that point, so I think we're probably the healthiest we ever been, so that's always a good thing. And we're probably deeper than we ever been as well.
This CIAA Northern Division, CIAA as a whole has gotten really, really good. The last 10 years or so, the football is great, and the divisional matchups are great, specifically in the Northern Division. I mean, generally a 5-2 record would be a good record, but when you're going against, some of those other teams, and you've unfortunately been on that other side, you were 5-2 in the division, in the conference play on last year with a 6-4 record. Is that for you? I mean, for some teams, that's pretty good. For you, was that a bit of a disappointment?
You could probably say that. Anytime you don't get, a chance to play in Salem, you don't reach your goals. And, when you don't reach your goals, it's kind of a disappointment like anything else. Since I've been here, Donna, we're 16-5 in conference play. So people might hang their hat on that and say, you know what, hey, this is that. But we're 16-5 in conference play and haven't hung a banner yet. So, while we won some games and we put together some good things, you know, like you said, the way you play in October against those divisional rivals that you got to beat to kind of get to that show. We haven't won some of those that we probably should have won.
Yeah, it's just a tough thing. You've done well. Do you feel like you've done good? 16-5 in conference play. Yeah, you haven't won a championship. I get it. You had an 8-2 season to start this. You probably should have made the playoffs, which would add to your resume. But you got to feel like you've done a solid job and looking just to continue to get better.
Absolutely. I think, it's helped out, in the recruiting department because everybody wants to come to a winner. So we've been able to put a great product on the field. And like I say, we are 16-5 in conference play, and 3 of those 5 had come to that school up there in PG County, so we know what game we have to win, not to discount any of the other games or anything like that. But, that game is we win that game in any one of the 4 seasons I've been here. We're playing in Salem. So we feel good about what we're doing, but you know what, like every coach starts you off right now saying that they want to be playing in Salem, and that's our ultimate goal.
No doubt about it. That the voice of Dr. Alvin Parker, the head football coach at Virginia Union, as he joins us here on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. Let's talk offensively. You had a young man, Mr. Byers, last year, CIAA Rookie of the Year, ran for 910 yards, had 12 touchdowns, which led the conference. You don't return your starting quarterback from last year. We can talk more about the quarterback position, maybe a battle going on there, but talk about what Mr. Byers brings to the table.
He is special. That's probably the best word I can use to describe him. And, he led the league in rushing all the way up to week 10. He led the league in scoring. He did all that as a freshman. So he's one of those guys, and everybody thinks because he's small in stature, and he had a couple games where he carried the ball over 30 times, and he had a few games where he had over 200 yards rushing. What I'm saying? So he was able to carry the load for us. He's dynamic in the passing game as well. He's a great receiver out the backfield, and he's one of those guys you just want to get him touches. Like I said, he not only that, he's a good kid. He's a program kid. He's a guy that you want to kind of build things around, and everybody kind of follows behind him. And, when Saturdays come, you might meet him on a regular day, but when Saturdays come, he's a whole different type of ball player.
You like that? You got to be, right? Like, you got to be like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And with him, like I said, he's one of those guys, a lot of times I tell guys this and I say it, and I try not to mention to him as much, but, so I tell you guys, you can't just flip it on Saturday. He one of those guys that he flips it on. He becomes a whole different type of ball player. Like I say, he's a special guy. And we knew he can do it when we brought him here. He's from New Jersey. That's an area that we started to recruit a little bit heavier in. Over the last few years. So we tapped in, and I think we got a great one out of there.
Khalid Morris, your quarterback from last year, not with you this year. What kind of void does he leave? But who's your starting quarterback going into the season, or do you currently have a battle going on in camp?
We do. We have a battle going on. That's one of our rooms that we talked about a little earlier about it being just a strong room. It's a lot of competition in that room. We got a few guys, Jakari Grant, Christian Reed. Those guys are battling right now. And it's a great competition, but those guys kind of all pulling each other along, and helping each other. You rarely see that in battles, because those guys want, us to win. Those guys think that's what's most important. And those guys were here last year, and they got to see everything. They know the system. Those guys know how to put it together. And I think, whoever we pick to be on the center this year, come September 1, it's going to be somebody that can lead us to victory.
Yeah. What does each bring to the table?
I think, Jakari brings, he's a little longer. He has a big arm. He can make a lot of the different throws, and he can make some plays with his feet. Christian is a lefty, who's dynamic in the run game as well. And he can fit all the tight throws. A lot of the intermediate throws are his specialties. He can get out the pocket and do some damage. So they both bring some things to the table, that can, like I said, can help us win, that we feel good about.
Charles Hall, he's not with your program anymore. Wide receiver, dynamic. You're talking about a guy, as you were saying before we even came on, I said he averaged 25 yards per reception last year. You said 2 years he did that. I mean, that's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, he has an opportunity now to play at Arizona State. He got in the transfer portal. Just talk about what he meant to the program, and then him ultimately, because you don't see that a lot of times where a guy comes from a D2 program and is able to go to an FBS program like Arizona State and playing with Coach Herman in
it. Charles was my first recruit when I took the job here. I got the job in that January of 2018, and I recruited Charles to come here with us, at the time. So he was my first recruit. So he came, he busted his butt in the classroom. His numbers showed you that he busted his butt in the field. He led the nation in yards per catch 2 years straight, and in the process of doing that, he got ahead and he graduated, and with him graduating, he wanted to seek some other opportunities, and anytime you come in my program, you do everything I've asked. You've done it on the field, you've done it in the classroom, you have my full out blessing, so we talked about it a lot, and I helped him with the decision-making process. But anytime, you question and people think, can you go from CIAA to Pac-12? I mean, watch him this year. That's all I got to tell people. He's another one. He's special. Just watch and see. And everybody that played against him, they know he can do it. But I think the world will get a chance to know now. So we definitely fully support him. We still talk to him. He calls every now and again, and he's out there. He's having a good time. I think he misses us a little bit sometimes, but he's out there. He's having a good time. He's doing well.
No question about it. So what does the wide receiver room look like now? Who are you expecting to step up?
James Jackson is here. He did a lot of good work for us last year. Larry Hackey is here. We have another big-time receiver that everybody will get a chance to meet this year and see on the field. That's John Giles. Ricky Key. That room is pretty deep. We have a few transfer guys that are in here that we feel good about. We feel like when we put the first group out there, the second group out there, we do anything with that group right now. They're making plays. So that's the biggest thing I like about that group. We have a lot of guys that are capable of making plays. It'll be some new guys, some new names that people hadn't really heard the last few years in Panther football, but those guys are special and they're capable of making some plays, just like we had from Charles and some of those other guys that left us last year.
What were your thoughts on the way the defense played on last year? And what is that unit looking like? Who are some of the key guys there defensively?
Well, they gave up roughly between that 19 and 20 point range last year. So Coach Pointer and the defensive staff do a great job over there. We lost a few guys, of course, but we returned some guys too. We returned our leading tackler, Devontae Rim. So he did a lot of good work for us last year. He was one of those stat sheet stuffer type of guys. He had some interceptions, some fumble returns. He led us in tackles, like I said before. He played a little bit of offense. He had a couple touchdowns on offense. So he was just one of those guys that was all over the place making plays. High energy guy. He brings it every day. So we're happy he's returning. He's a linebacker for us, and we have an all-conference DN and Amani Burton. Who plays, like I said, defensive end for us. And we have a few other guys down front. We're going to be very, very, very strong up front this year. We have a lot of guys that have played for us for, a few years, and also, guys that we brought in that can add to those guys already, and some guys on the back end that we can kind of expect some things from. You hear Ephraim Moore, who's a corner for us, Jabari Parker, who's a safety for us, and some other guys that we brought in that we feel real good about.
Yeah, that back end has really been good for you since you've been there at Virginia Union. You mentioned September 1st. It's a home game. It's the opening game. It's a Thursday night. It's against Virginia University of Lynchburg. It's the Willard Bailey Classic. I know that means something to you as a Union guy, not only head football coach, but as a Union guy. Talk about that and what Willard Bailey means to you, that classic, having that classic, hosting that classic means to you.
Man, anybody that knows me know how near and dear Coach Bailey is to me. He brought me to Virginia Union, and gave me a scholarship to be here. So that was something that, like I said, coming out of DC, he came all the way up there and got me and brought me here, and then when I finished, he gave me the opportunity to be a coach on his coaching staff. So, not only did he give me a scholarship, but he gave me my first job, so he's near and dear to me. He's still around here. He still come to the office and drop nuggets and you want to go to lunch and just want to kind of be around, So, I soak all that wisdom up as much as I can, but he's near and dear to me. So just for him to have that classic, for all the old players to kind of come back and not necessarily wait till a game like homecoming or something like that to come back, but just to kind of come back and represent Coach Bailey and the legacy that he's left. And, sometimes you get to hear stories and it's about people who are no longer here and some of the greats, but to have a great coach like that, that's a Hall of Famer, has won as many games as he had, that have touched as many lives as he's touched, you can witness that. You can still touch that, So, I'm happy to have it. I'm happy to have been a part of some of those wins. I'm happy to have helped him get some of those wins, But like I said, now to be coaching as a head coach in a game that's named after him, is something that, I really don't have any words for. I'm just happy that they were able to do it, and it's been something that's been done since I've been here.
And what does it mean to be the head football coach at your alma mater?
Oh, I mean, sometimes it's kind of surreal sometimes, because I find myself doing a lot of things that were done when I was a player here. In terms of the format, the way we do things, in terms of the schedule, sometimes the way we do things, in terms of the way we move around campus, and all of those things were some things that were done the way that I would when I was here. Those things led to some victories when I was a player. And fortunately enough, they led to some victories since I've been the coach, So it's kind of surreal. There's still a few professors around here that were here when I was a student, So they got to see me on both sides. So like I say, it's always good to see that. And just to kind of get those guys the blueprint. I don't have to make it up. I can kind of lay it out for them exactly the way things happen for me, walking these same halls, sleeping in these same dorms, playing on that same field. Well, not the turf, but the same field, and everything else, and kind of laying it out for those guys, and those guys understanding and able to buy into it a little more, because they say, you know what, Coach did this exact same thing for 4 years. So that makes it a little bit easier, but it's surreal, and I'd rather not be supporting anybody else but Virginia Union.
We could call you Coach Alvin Parker. We can call you Dr. Alvin Parker, right? Like, you don't hear many coaches, let alone head coaches specifically, that are Dr. such and such as you are, Dr. Alvin Parker. So what did it mean to you to get that, to have that doctorate as a coach, specifically as a head football coach? And, it can show your players that, hey, you can do what you love to do and still get that higher education as well.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of shows them how I tie both into each other. I think the path that I took was a little unique in terms of the way I did it, because when I finished undergrad, the only thing on my mind was, either playing football or still coaching football, but to kind of take this thing as far as I did, my mom was a teacher, she was an educator, so she kind of preached education a whole lot, and every time somebody hears, the word doctor, or they say like that, doctors save lives. And I feel like I'm doing the same thing. I feel like, I got the life of 100 plus young men in my hand, and not necessarily physically saving their life, but just guiding them in a direction that can present them with a great life, that can present, make them great husbands, make them great fathers, and do things like that. The educational side is just something, I guess, that was more so of a personal thing. It was a goal I wanted to achieve. And, I'm kind of a lifelong learner, when I'm not, coaching football, a lot of times I'm probably a nerd looking at something, researching something, doing something like that, so I'm a researcher by nature. So kind of, trickled on over to that side of things. But, people say, Coach Parker, sometimes they say Dr. Parker, people say everything, and but all of it's the same to me. I think it's all about, teaching the guys the way to go and putting those guys in position to be successful members of society.
Last thought, and we appreciate the time. 4 of your first 6 games are at home. So that bodes well for that first half of the season to kind of have that home, being at home. And I guess that's a good thing. I mean, you could look at it in any number of different ways. One of those games on the road against Valdosta State, National Power. I think you played them last year, played them well. So just your thoughts, first 4 games, first 4 of your 6 games at home.
Yeah, I mean, we have I think last year we led the CIAA in attendance, so of course we're looking to do that again. But in terms of the schedule, it kind of felt like it did. We had a 2-year contract without Austin where they came here last year, and we got to go there this year. So last year, we played a little well early on, but they was able to kind of, shift it into a few different gears, and we didn't keep up. This year we're looking to make sure we go down there and we show everybody we probably should have showed them last year. We know we're a good football team, and we want to play against good football teams. So, the schedule's kind of split, where we got 5 games on the road and 5 games at home. So, I think some of the games that, people might deem important, or that some people other than ourselves might have put asterisks beside, probably be on the road a little bit this year, but historically we played good on the road, and, we played well at home. So, but it's always great to play in front of your home crowd, and the people here deserve a certain type of product, and they want to see it. Again, you don't lead the league in attendance just because you're out there putting anything out on the field. I think we put a good product on the field for our fans, and we want to make sure we continue to do that.
Dr. Alvin Parker, in his 5th season as the head football coach of Virginia Union, joins us here on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. As mentioned, the Panthers open the season Thursday, September 1st, hosting Virginia University of Lynchburg in the Willard Bailey Classic. Dr. Coach Parker, we appreciate the time. Good luck to you and the Panthers this season.
I appreciate you having me, Donald.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. You can also listen to the podcast at BOXTOROW.com, iHeartMedia, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to get your HBCU football fix on BOXTOROW with Donald Ware each weekend on the radio station near you, and on SiriusXM on HBCU, Channel 142, and on ESPNU Radio on SiriusXM, Channel 84. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at BOXTOROW for the latest in HBCU football, and don't forget to tell a friend.